In today's show, we're going to talk about the PowerApps Concat function. So we use the concat function often to build tables dynamically of data, right? Whether it's grabbing a bunch of email addresses out of a combo box and turning it into the two-line for an email, or for building rich PDF or invoice reporting. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the function and we're going to show the simple version, the medium version, and then the super duper complex one that made me decide we finally needed to make this video. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with PowerApps 911, those guys, and today's show is all about the concat function. So in PowerApps, we have this great little function that's all about taking and combining or turning a table of data into a string of data or a series of data, right? So concatenate, which is this is not, concatenate's when we combine two strings, like we take the first name and combine the last name, right? That's concatenate, often shown with the ampersand. Concat is different in that we're going to feed it a table and then we're going to say, hey, based on this column and this formula, we want you to spit out a long string of text most of the time. Well, easy for me to say. So what I thought we'd do is we'll do a little demo over here of kind of what we're going to build. And then once you get so excited for that, then I'll actually show you how to build all the pieces. So here's just switch over to my desktop and take a look. So over here on my desktop, you can see that the top one is a very simple concat, right? So the idea here was I took a data source and then I just grabbed one of the columns and I just concatenated it or stuck a semicolon at the end of each record. So then it was just like boom, 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 boom. Here is all of the data, but separated by a semicolon or a comma or, you know, a Rubik's Cube. I don't care how you separate it, but it just gave me a way to kind of grab all that data and throw it in one big blob. So we'll use that one first because it's a simple scenario to understand. Then we'll go into a little more common, right? So if you've built PDFs with me before, you've seen this, or if you have to send out rich emails, right? Really what it is with PowerApps, we've had to get really good at HTML again. And so the second example over here on the right, concat with HTML formatting, we're going to look at how we're going to take that same table data we had over here and make it look a little nicer, pull in some extra information, but we're going to dynamically generate this based on our table of data. So very similar to like we did in the PDF video. That's cool. Third, we're going to come down here and we're going to do a nested table. So this was the one that prompted me to build this. One of my customers reached out and said, hey, I got this really bizarre invoicing scenario, like where we need to grab invoice records and then we need to grab the sub items from that, but I need to combine multiple invoices and sub records. It was just like, whoa. And so it was a pretty gnarly little thing. It took me about an hour to solve her exact problem. And so that was when I said, you know what, I should sit down and make this video and walk you guys through not her problem, but a similar type scenario where we're going to look at taking this as actually two sets. This is the parent records, and then we are nesting inside of it a child table to show all that data. So this one, pretty cool, pretty hard. I also had to do a bunch of HTML formatting tricks. And so once we kind of get this all good, we'll use a combo box real quick. We're going to grab some email addresses out of that and send an email off to these two people so we can see all of our hard work and kind of how it manifests itself. Yikes! All right, that's enough talking. Let's just switch over, or not switch over, let's hit the X, and let's talk about how this works. So the simple concat, you know what, let's just make a new screen. Let's do it that way. So the first thing I'm going to do, right, is I have a data source. And so I have a data source here called expense master and expense details. They are both SharePoint lists, but nothing about this video has anything to do with SharePoint. So don't worry about it, right? If you're using SQL, CDS, Excel, well, I hope you're not using Excel, but whatever your data source might be, this functionality is 100% the same. So what we're going to do though is with this expense master is we're going to grab and pull in one of the columns. So I'm going to throw a label on the screen because that's what concat wants to spit out as some text. So label is a great way to see what it's doing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do concat, right? You see concatenate down here. That's something different, right? That's the ampersand. Concat is this function. So we're going to do that. And it says, hey, give me a table of data. All right, well, I'm just going to give it expense master. Boom. And so then we're going to do a comma. And remember, this is a table of data. So in this case, we're just giving it straight data. This could be filtered data. This could be, you know, a very complex set of data. This could be a collection. It doesn't matter. It just wants a table, not a record, not text. It wants a table. So there you go. And so then what are we going to do? We're going to say, all right, what is my expression? And so what's really saying is, hey, what columns do you want to show? So for us, maybe what we want to do is, let's see, we'll go down, I forget which one. I think we want to show title. Let's just try title. So we'll close this out. And then what we should see here in a second, there you go, is a nice big, let's make this real big so we can see it, pile of all of those fields just bumped together, right? Trip to Cincinnati, taco, trip to Redmond, try 2, 3, crazy stuff. That's really hard to read though. So with concat, if we put our function or our cursor back up here, you'll see with the ellipses, right? We know that means there's optional parameters. So let's do a comma. It says, oh, what is your separator? Let's do a comma separated. So you can't just type a comma, right? Because it needs text. So we got to put it inside quotes. So we do quotes and then comma and then like that. And so then now we're going to get our same data back, but now they're separated. So trip to Cincinnati, comma, taco, comma, trip to Redmond, comma, trip to, trip, right? So my data is really bizarre, but who cares, right? The idea here is that we are able to concatenate that data. Now, keep in mind as well, this doesn't have to be this simple, right? So this is as simple as it gets, though. Okay, I wanted to start you easy, but you could easily come in here and add some text, right? So we could do something like title is, boom, and then we do an ampersand for concatenate, and then we do that, and so then now we're going to see a whole bunch of these, right? Title is Fed class, title is trip to Cincinnati, blah, 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 blah. And so, but now we've kind of gotten a better, a little bit more of a feel of how we could do this. Okay? You're with me so far, right? That's pretty easy. But that's where you got to start because we like to build in baby steps. So then now what we're going to do, we'll just delete this thing. And so what I'm going to do now is instead of using a label this time, I'm actually going to use an HTML text. Because 9 times out of 10, if I am doing something with concat, I need the output to be HTML. I don't know if that's a curse in my life or what it is, but that happens all the time. So what we're going to do for this HTML control is, well, first thing we can do is probably should have just copied our last formula, right? So we could just do concat and then expense master. And then we're going to just do title here and close it out. And so that gives us that first thing, right? We've seen this one before. We know this story. But now we're in HTML land. So what I could do is I could be like, you know what? The separator I want to be is I could do something like this. I want the separator to be a BR, which in HTML means a line break. So then now what we should see is that we get them all one per line. Ooh, fancy, right? So a little easier, but that's not what I promised you. I promised you an HTML table, okay? So we've got our way of getting some data. We understand this. Let's blow it all out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I want to do a table. So we'll do table. And then in a table, right, you have to have a row. So we're going to say I need a row. And so then what we'll do here is we're going to say, all right, we then need a table. How about a heading? And for a heading, we will call this description. Description. I'll even spell it right for you because I really like you guys. We'll close our table heading. We'll create a new table heading. And then we're going to do total cost, I think. We'll try that. Total cost. And then we will close that table heading. And then we will close the row like that. And then we will close the table because we want to just make sure that, you know, baby steps. I like baby steps. Close this. All right. We've got a table. Yay. So we know this is good, but we know now we want to have a row for every item that we have. So what I'm going to do is move my mouse so the charts thing quits blinking. So I'm just going to hit a little shift enter here to give us a little typing space. So we'll close this one off. We'll open that one off or close that one off. And then we'll do an ampersand. Okay, so everybody's happy again. Good. And so then in the middle here, between these two ampersands, we're going to put in our concat. So what we're going to do, we're going to do concat and we're going to do expense master again. Now, this time though, for every item, right, we need to create a new row. So our formula, our expression, if you will, is a little harder. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, all right, so we need to do a table row. And then we're going to need to do a table, I don't know, table data, I guess. I don't know what that really stands for. So like that. And then we're going to do a ampersand. And for this one, we want to do the title field again. There it is. And so then we're going to do another ampersand. And then we're going to close that table data, open a new one. And then we're going to close that and do another ampersand. And so I think this is like, what is it? It's Total cost, maybe? I forget. We'll just go down, right? No reason to guess. Total expense. I was wrong. There we go. Like that. And then another ampersand. And then we're going to close that TD. Oh, what did I forget to do, right? The HTML all is inside of the string. So we close that TD. And then we're going to close that row. Just like that. And then we're going to close our concat function. And if I did it all correctly, yeah, woohoo, woohoo. So I know that was a lot of HTML, right? But it's not bad. So the thing I would tell you, right, is I can tell you as a Power Apps guru, I've had to learn HTML. I don't know if I'm a guru, whatever I am. Power Apps nerd, Power Apps guy who has no life, whatever. Anyway, I've had to learn HTML again, right? It's like 1995 all over again. I'm making my AOL Geospaces websites. Woohoo! So if you're in that boat where you're trying to relearn HTML, what I really recommend, and I get nothing for recommending this, but I think you should go to W3 Schools. This is where I go. Like this morning when I was having a problem with the customer's HTML, I came out here and read through their little tables stuff again and reminded myself of what the problem was I was having, right? So all the things about what are TRs and THs and TDs, all of that stuff is in here. So you don't have to like go searching all over the internet. W3 Schools has it. And then just use the little try it yourself thing. Let's do this one. And so then this launches a separate page where I can kind of come in here and play and figure it out. Okay. So that's how I'm going to do it. So I don't want to feel bad about showing you guys crazy HTML. But that's what a lot of you need is right there, right? That was not simple, but that's a very common request. It's, hey, I want to be able to show a bunch of data. And remember, we could filter this thing, right? We could be like, hey, filter expense master. Let's try this. Oh, I didn't even do this in my practice, so hopefully I don't mess it up. Where total expense is greater than 100. What happens now? Fingers crossed. Boom. So then now all the cheap trips are gone, and it's only my expensive trips. I'm so cool. I'm so cool. Woo, 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 woo. Right? Because all that Concat cares about right here is you gave it a table of data. So there you go. So that was your second scenario, right? That was the one that was pretty straightforward, but a lot of people need this one, especially making those first PDFs. So now what I'm going to do, let's make this thing harder. So remember over here in our example, I had, all right, so we had total expense, description, and then this third column where I'm showing a bunch of child records. Egads! So, whew, all right, we're going to have to figure this out together. So we're going to need a third column. Okay, that's easy enough. So we're going to go over here, and I'm going to be like, all right, TD, I just need a third TD that is just completely blank because I just want to establish that there's a third column, even though it's going to be empty. Cool? And so this is our row. So what we're saying is, all right, so we have a row for title, for total expense, and then all of those things, right? Or and then the blank, okay. So that's the first row. So then, but for every record, right? So that's 540, trip to Cincinnati, and oh, it looks like I wrote, I know, or no, wait, so that's total expense. No, oops, I see my boo-boo. This is why we work on this together. This top one needs a third one as well, right? We need to add a blank TH up here just to add balance. So now we've got 3 across the top, and then we're making 3 here that is title, total expense, and then it looks like over here in this one, I actually did items, okay? So let's do items, whoop. So then in this third spot, we're going to do just the word items. So we know what's going on there, whoop, boom. Okay, so there we go. So then now we want to add the items. We want to add the the children. My English is really good. Aren't you impressed? I am. So what do we need to do? Well, after we got done making that row, for each one of these items, right? Think of Concat is kind of looping through. So we're on this first row. We're on the trip to Cincinnati. We got 540. We wrote items. Now what do I want to do? I want to add another row. And I'm going to do it in a separate element. I don't have to, but I think it makes it read easier. And so we're going to say, all right, we want to make another row just like that. And then in that row, I ended up with a blank item. So I did a blank column, and then I did another blank column. Boom. And then, you know what? Just to make our lives easy for 1 second, we're going to add a third blank column, and then we're going to close the row, right? This is the new row that we need to dynamically populate. So this should kind of make something that pretty much looks exactly the same, because that row is so skinny or so short that you can't really tell it's there. But we've now kind of made the format. We haven't messed anything up, but now what I want to do is I want to fill in this third element, right? So this guy, I want to dynamically fill this in with a table that is the children records, right? And let's go look at SharePoint for 1 second so you can kind of see the data. So here under Expense Master, right, if I do Edit Data, cute little shortcut trip, right? There's our trip to Cincy, all the fun things for it. This is ID 10. So if we go over to Expense Details, you're going to see that for ID 10, there are 3 items, and they're using this master ID to create the parent-child relationship. So Flight 1, Rental Car 1, and Hotel 1. Okay, so that's our data set. So over here, what I want to do is in this third spot, I need to dynamically stick in another table. Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to do this again to make our lives easier, right? We're going to really kind of break this up into pieces so we're never like, what's going on? And so, you know, so the table is going to go here. So with HTML principles, you're able to just stick a table inside of a table. So we're going to start out with, all right, it would be a table. And so then in that particular table, what do we need? We need to create a row for everyone that goes and does. Children just walked in the middle of recording. How rude. Not really. They just wanted to show me that they finished their work. Anyway, okay, so we got a table here in the middle, and we would know we would need to close that table, right? Because if we open a table, we got to close the table. That makes sense. But so then in the middle of all this, what we need to do is we need to magically, right, we need to do another concatenate to go through and build all the rows out. So we're going to do it very similar to our previous formula. And so how we're going to do that, right? We're going to do a little ampersand here and ampersand here. Oh. So for every one of those, there you go, that looks fine. We're going to do a concat again. But so then this time what we're going to do is we're going to say, I want to filter, not expense master, but expense details. And what do we want to filter it on? We want to filter it on master ID equals the ID of the other guy. Now that actually gets a little mad at us, and we're going to talk about why that does in just a second. So what goes in here? So then this would be the actual title of the line items. Now I never like this because both records have an ID in them. And so even if this works, it really gets kind of awkward to me. And you can see that it kind of worked. It's taco. Yeah, it's not exactly what we wanted, but it's close. So what we want to do here is instead of just putting in title, we're going to, right now, yeah, see, it's mad. It's like, I don't understand what you meant here. So what I like to do is I'm going to go back up here to the original concat, because remember, this is what we're processing. We're inside the loop of this one. And I'm going to say, hey, take expense master here, and I'm going to rename columns on that one. So I'm going to rename columns. And we're going to take the column that is named ID right there, and we're going to rename it MID for master ID. Like that. So then now down here, we're going to say ID equals MID. And so then now we are in a closer place. So that's getting our data, it's filtering out. But instead of the title, right, we can't just put in title here. What do we got to do? We got to be like, hey, I need a table row. And then I need a TD. Oh, I need some quotes around that string. Choop, choop. So like that. And then like that. And so then now we need to close that TD and then close that table row like that. And oh, that's probably pretty close. So table, for every table, we are creating a new row, and for every row we're putting in a TD. Now, what we're doing wrong though is we actually don't want it in the first spot. Remember, it should be in the third column. So, fair enough. What we're going to see here, oh no, it's already in the third column, right? Oh, it is not, because I put it on the wrong side of this TD. So we're going to remove this TD, Control X. And so then closer, total cost. It's in the second column now. Oh, so table row, TD. Oh, so put that back in and then open the third one. That should scoot his little butt over. Hey, look at that. Trip to Cincinnati, 554 items. Flight 1, rental car 1, hotel 1. So let's just look over here, make sure that that looks like flight 1, rental car 1, hotel 1. Pretty cool. So that is how we build a nested one, right? So the key here, let's see if we do format text, it's be a little easier to read. So, right, so we have our initial table header stuff. Yay, that's all the top. And then we're saying, all right, we want to do a concatenate, right? We want to basically loop through all of the rows of the data source, right? So we're looping through all the rows of expense master. We're changing the ID column to be called MID. And we're filtering where total expense is greater than 100, which was just arbitrary, right? So for every record in this data set, we are making a row and we're showing title, we're showing, right, so the title value, we're showing the total expense value, and then we're showing the word items. So we made 3 columns, right? So trip to Redmond, 140523, and items. Then what we're doing is we're saying, okay, close that row, create a new row, right? So new table row, create a blank column, a second blank column, and then in the third column, right? So, right, this was the first column, then there's the second column, and so here's the third column. We start that blank third column, and so for that third column, then what I want to do is I'm going to create a table inside, right? So a table inside of a table, and for that one, I am going to concatenate again. And this time, though, we're going to filter expense details where the master ID, so master ID is a column in expense details, right? Master ID is equal to MID, which was the ID column of the master, so the current concat, right? Because we're concat inside of a concat. And so when we get that set of data for every row that returns there, and so in our case, there was 3 in the first example, we're going to make a new row, we're going to make a new table data element, and we're going to just put the title value in there. And then we're going to close the table data element, close the table row. So then that'll run 3 times in our first example. Then we close that table. So now our little table inside of a table is done. Then we close that table data element, boop. And then we close that row. And then we repeat for the next record over and over and over and over again. When all of the rows are in place, everything's closed up. Then at the very end, we have a closed table. Woohoo! And we are in great shape. So that is how we build this type of thing of inside of an inside. Now, the last little pieces of it here. So if we'll switch over to the other app now because you've done this before with me, but I will show it to you again. So then over here, what I did was I then added a combo box, right? And so for the combo box, I set the items property to be Office 365 search users. So get all my Office 365 users. And that was then I was able to go in here and choose, me and Chewy's record. And then what I did was I used concat in my email button. I said, hey, oh, no, I hard coded it to myself. I meant to use it. All right, we'll do that real quick. So then we're going to say concat the, what is the name of the combo box? Combo box 1. Combo box 1.selected items. So that gets all of the items that have been selected. And then what do we want to do? We want to grab the mail address, and then we want to separate those by a semicolon because that's what the email needs. And so what I did was I put that output in a label right here so you could see what it looked like, right? So you could easily see that it's Shane@PowerApps911.com, semicolon, Chewy. So that's how I'm using concat to dynamically build an email address line, boom, subject to subject. And then this is another trick that I want to pass on to you guys. So when I need to send HTML emails that are complex, I do it in an HTML control, right? This is HTML text 3 right here. And so then for my subject or for my body of my email, I don't have all that crazy code. I just have HTML text 3.html text. So if I press the button, boop, that should send me an email and Chewy an email. Let me go over here and grab that email real quick. And here's what you get, right? There's me and Chewy on the 2 line. Now you can see here that I went ahead and did some HTML formatting, right? So I made I added table borders and I made them purple because I'm crazy. I did some width stuff. So all of that is over here. One of the things that annoys me about the HTML control with PowerApps is it does not show you table borders and colors and all that. So you can't see them here, even though you can see up here my code, they are clearly here, right? So style, so my tables have a style of, my tables, my headers, and my data elements all have a style of 1 pixel purple border. I then did a little fancy stuff and did table 01. I set his width to be 100 because what I was struggling with was this second, the flight, rental car, and hotel. This table wasn't the full width. It was like dynamically small, which looked really bad. So I kind of went and reformatted it a little. And once again, once you understand HTML, you can make it look any way you want, but that was how I made it. So that was my style. So then after that, it's the same exact code that we just wrote together with the minor exception that this second table is set to be ID table 01. These double quotes like this, that is telling it to just do a single quote. So if you ever need to use in a string, the double quote symbol, which is usually our delineator, you just put those together and that does that. You can also see, like for item cost, I went ahead and used our text function here to format it so it looked like an actual currency. So, but that's it, right? The real lesson, the thing that I need you to learn was what we just built together over here, which is this crazy nested concatenated table. So if you can do this, you can do anything. The world is your oyster. So study it, figure it out. Leave me comments below if you're like, whoa, I don't understand. I need help with HTML, right? We do this type of thing for customers all the time. So happy to help you with that anyway. Or maybe you need to tell me that I need to make an HTML only course that just teaches the basics of HTML. I would be down for that if you guys, enough of you told me that. So I don't know. I think with all that said, I got kids outside my door saying, hey, why don't you come out here and play soccer? So I'm going to play some soccer with my kids. And I'll just say thanks and have a great day. Hey, it's me again. If you got a second, click the subscribe button. That always keeps me making more videos. Or if you want to work together, need some help getting your Power Apps going, hit me up at PowerApps 911. Always happy to work together. Or finally, if you're really just looking for more videos, that's probably what it is. Check out the Power Apps playlist over here and enjoy that. All right, thanks and have a great day.